guys, welcome back, and for those of you that are new, welcome. I am Steph, and today's video is going to be about disappointing products. Makeup products that have let me down, disappointed me, left me hanging, ruined my makeup, ruined my skin, and just have been overall very unenjoyable. I think every single item I have to mention to you guys today, I've either returned, am too lazy to go grab. Actually, a lot of these I'm just too lazy to go grab or find them in my makeup collection. So I'm just gonna post pictures of pretty much all of these, but some of them I have returned. Some of these have been so bad that I have returned them, but I do have a long list here to share with you guys. So if you guys are interested in hearing about quite a few products that have been quite disappointing, then just keep watching. Numero uno on my list of disappointing products is the REFERRAL Unicorn Elixir. Now, I didn't think that this was a bad product, but it's just not really worth the hype. I mean, that elixir when it first released was literally in every video. I mean, you couldn't watch a YouTube video without seeing someone putting, like, dripping the unicorn elixir down their face. So I was really excited to try this, and for me, it really did nothing to prime my skin for makeup. It gave me a little bit of a glow, but nothing that you could really see through your foundation. So I mean, I think it's like, if you're looking for something that's going to illuminate, there are plenty of more affordable primers out there that you could purchase that are even going to give you more of a glow than the Unicorn Elixir did. I know I've also, I think in my previous disappointing products video, I mentioned the REFERRAL Volcanic Elixir, and if I didn't, I'm going to remind you guys now. That smells so bad that I had to return it. It was literally making me nauseous every night, so I haven't had good luck with the REFERRAL elixirs. I am interested in trying the rose gold one. I still, like, my heart's still in it. Like, I want it to work so bad, but I've been let down by two of them now. We're 0 for 2. So you guys will have to let me know what you think of the REFERRAL elixirs if you tried them, but for me, I just have not been impressed. Next on my list is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Dream Glow Kit. I purchased this. I was really excited for this because I love all ABH products. I pretty much collect all of her glow kits as well as her eyeshadow palettes, so this was a big deal for me when this first released. I ordered it on release day and I was so excited about it, and when I opened it up before I even swatched it, I was like, oh my god, this looks like a glittery mess. And then I swatched it, and unfortunately, my original thoughts were true. It was a glittery disaster, and for me, I just don't want to be putting something that has actual glitter in it on my cheeks. That's not my makeup vibes, and if that's yours, that's great. I've seen the Dream Kit look amazing and beautiful on people, but for me, it just, like, wasn't the right fit. So I did actually end up returning that, which is crazy because I was going back and forth, and I was like, well, you basically, like, collect all ABH products, you should just keep this. And I was like, I'm literally never gonna use it. So I had to say goodbye. Yeah, it was a sad day. Okay, next up, I actually had the product near me, so I did decide to go grab it. And this is the Viseart Petite Pro, and I don't know which one this is, the 3. This is what it looks like. I was really excited about this one. The green really intrigued me, and then I also really liked just the shimmers on the bottom, and I thought this would be a really easy palette to kind of go to for everyday looks when you're looking at the first 6 shades in here, and then it has your fun pops of green. But I've gotta say, you guys, for 30 bucks, this is not worth it. You have to work so hard to build up the pigment. And I haven't played with the green yet. I haven't played with either of the 2 greens, but I've played with the other 6 shades, and this just isn't good. Like, you don't get any pigment payoff from this. The shimmers are, like, subpar. I would definitely recommend using a spray with them to get any sort of payoff, but I was really disappointed in this, especially because Viseart is so hyped, and I feel like it just gets a lot of praise, and I felt like I had the pigment on these. I know that Viseart is more geared toward makeup artists, which is maybe the reason that you have to do a little bit more building with this, but it was just too much building for someone who doesn't have time to blend, let alone build up pigment. So for me, this was a letdown. I decided to keep it just, well, because probably I think I waited too long to try this, so I couldn't even return it at that time, but I don't think this is worth the money. I don't think it's that good. I would skip this if you've been considering. Okay, I felt like I was being a bad YouTuber if I didn't grab the things I physically still had in my collection. Next on my list is the Narcissist Cheek Studio palette. This is what this looks like, and honestly I never reach for this. I find the blushes to be super firmly pressed and hard to work with, hard to get color, pigment, and payoff. I do think this is a really beautiful blush, and sometimes I also like to use this one. These are probably my like most used shades in the palette, but I just never reach for this because it's just like, it's not anything special. Like I think this is like $55 or $59, and for me, like, that's just way too overpriced for what it is. I get it's NARS and but I mean, you do get this big Laguna bronzer, which I actually haven't dipped into the Laguna bronzer because at the time I purchased this, I had the NARS liquid Laguna bronzer, and I was really into that at the time, which I'm not anymore. So I actually do want to pull this back out and try and get some more use out of it and use this NARS Laguna because I'm interested to see if I like it in powder form. But I was super excited when I purchased this. I remember I got this as my birthday gift at Ulta, so I got like the $10 coupon, and I was just like kind of super let down by it. So I don't think this is worth the money. Like, you can definitely skip this. Yeah. Okay, next up, I don't actually have this product anymore, but it's the Pharmacy spray, like the green one. And for me, I actually like the finish that this gives. I do feel like it gives a bit of a glowy finish. I don't know if you're supposed to actually use it as a makeup setting spray. I feel like it's advertised like you can. I feel like it looks like my shirt's laying super weird. But the mister on this is so intense and aggressive, you're gonna ruin your makeup every single time. So even if it is marketed to use as a makeup setting spray, unless you're switching the bottle out on that sucker, one squirt and your foundation is gonna be dripping all down your face. I even have this, so I have a sample of this, or I went through a sample of this too, and the sample mister was just as aggressive, if you can imagine. So please, if you do decide to buy this, test the mister first before you go and set your makeup with it. I mean, you could use it as just like a priming spray, or you could use it as like a spray between your makeup steps, but I find that, I think there might be tea tree oil, and it just feels like it dries my skin out, and it just like, not doesn't sting, but it just, there's like a feeling it gives my skin that I don't love. And I do find that even while it gives like a glowy sort of finish, it almost feels like it's tacky or textured, so maybe it would be a good thing to use as a priming spray actually. Now I kind of wish I tried it that way, but regardless, the ways that I tried it, I wasn't a fan, and I think it retails for $38 for the full size, so like, just skip it. Just get the Urban Decay All Nighter Setting Spray and just call it a day. Next up, I have the Burt's Bees Skin Perfecting Serum. I bought this because I wanted to try and find a cheaper alternative for a serum that I was going to use during the day, and honestly, like, this just did nothing. I noticed no differences in my skin. I didn't feel like it really did much of anything, and it just felt like an extra step. I believe it was like $19, and I can't remember how much product you got in it, but for me it just wasn't worth it. I prefer like my Core's vitamin C oil. Like, I like to use that as a serum, so I don't know. This wasn't worth it for me. Definitely one that I feel like you can skip over. Next up, I have the Tartelette Toasted palette. I got this around the holidays last year, and honestly, I believe I've only used this like 1 or 2 times. I'm gonna try and bust this back out now that it's fall time again, and these tones are just so appropriate. But I felt like for this one, you really had to build up the color or the pigment. There just wasn't a ton of pigment payoff, if I'm remembering correctly. I feel like that's why I didn't like it, or I just was feeling like the colors weren't blending that well together. And I was just really disappointed because I really love the Tartelette in Bloom palette, and I just felt like the quality was definitely not the same. And the more that I looked at this, I just realized, like, this is just like your average neutral warm tone palette. And honestly, there's palettes I have in my collection with tones that I like a lot better than this. So I kind of just regret buying this because I feel like I did not need to add this to my collection, and it's nothing that gets me inspired or excited. And it's nothing that gets me inspired or excited to use, so this was a no-go for me. Next is a product I also returned. I no longer have this in my collection. It's the YSL Touche Clout Primer. I bought this during the most recent Sephora VIB sale, the customer appreciation one. I wasn't even intending to purchase this. It just was like a spur-of-the-moment decision. So maybe that's the reason I was a little unimpressed. Maybe I was feeling a little bit of buyer's remorse. But it's a $54 primer for one. It has little gold flakes in it, which I feel like just aren't flattering on the skin. I felt like the luminosity that it gives did not show through foundation. So it wasn't like an illuminating primer. It wasn't a primer I was going to reach for as an illuminating primer. And I know it's supposed to have blurring effects, which it did slightly, but I also have primers in my collection that I prefer for blurring. So I just, for $54, I was like, what is this really doing that's so special that like I need this primer, or that I'm going to want to reach for this primer over others? I just was not digging it. I didn't love the texture of it either. Just like, I definitely prefer moisturizing primers, and when I'm going to reach for a blurring primer, I'm going to reach for a different one. So for $54, definitely not worth the money. If you guys have not tried it, if you guys haven't tried it, I don't recommend it. I think that there are cheaper and better primers out there. I know that there are a ton of people out there who love this primer, so like all the power to you if this is your top favorite primer. Maybe I used it wrong. Maybe I need to try it again in the future, but for me right now, like, nah. I have two more products to talk about, one being the Too Faced Tutti Frutti Full Coverage Dewy Foundation. I was so excited about this foundation because I was really excited about testing out a full coverage foundation that was dewy, because I do not like full coverage foundations. I tend to prefer more like light to medium, because I feel like they leave a more natural finish, which is truly the type of finish that I'm looking for. Natural leaning dewy. I do like a little bit of luminosity to my foundation finish. So I was really, really excited about this because I wanted to try a foundation that was full coverage, but that gave me more of like a dewy, radiant finish. But I don't know even what it was about this foundation. First of all, it was definitely not full coverage, and pretty much every review that I've seen has agreed with that claim. Like, it's not a full coverage foundation. So there's that. And then I don't personally like watermelon. I don't like the scent of watermelon, and this smelled like watermelon. It wasn't a lingering scent, but it just, scented makeup just like doesn't really do it for me. Like, just skip the scents. Like, honestly, like, we don't need it. And then there were days that I would wear it, like, I felt like it was a foundation that had to be set, but that took away from the dewiness. But it ended up looking cakey, and it just, it was like thick and heavy, and just, it was not one that I liked. Like, there was a couple days where I was like, oh, well, maybe I do like this, but like 3 hours later it was wearing off my face, and it didn't wear away very nicely either. And it was, it felt like you had makeup on your skin. I felt like it looked cakey, and it just was not the foundation for me. So I did end up returning that, and yeah, don't think that one's worth it. And then finally, you guys, I want to talk about the NYX Dewy Finish Setting Spray. Now, I just recently mentioned in a Hits and Misses that I liked the spray. I can't remember if I said in that I would repurchase it. I feel like I said I wouldn't repurchase it. However, since filming that, one day I brought it to work, because I was like, oh, like, I was wearing like a matte foundation, I think, and I was like, well, I'm gonna bring this to work so that if I'm starting to feel like I'm looking too dry or too matte throughout the day, I'm gonna spray this on my face. And I had noticed like a time or two before that I had used it that my face felt dry or tight, but I didn't put two and two together. And then I used that on my face at work like a couple of times. I went up to my office, sprayed my face with it, and later in the day I went to the bathroom and looked in the mirror, and it looked like I was a gargoyle or like a stone, and like I was just cracking. My face looked disgusting, and it felt so tight. So I went and looked up the ingredients and found out that alcohol was like the second ingredient in the ingredients, the content list. And I was like, well, that's really neat that a dewy setting spray is literally drying my skin out. Really awesome. So awesome now that I have to go buy makeup wipes at work and wipe my makeup off because I look like a gargoyle that's falling apart. So I have changed my mind definitely about that product, and I would not recommend, do not purchase. You're gonna dry your skin out. If you have dry skin, like, oh boy, stay far, far, far away from this. And honestly, even if you have oily skin, like, I don't recommend. Why is a dewy setting spray drying your skin out? Like, just something doesn't sit right about that. Like, that really bothers me and just annoys me. But anyway, regardless, I don't recommend. It was highly disappointing, and it left me very irritated and looking old. After that, you guys, that is going to conclude all of the makeup products that I've tested out recently that have been very disappointing, and some even made me angry. Do you guys ever get that like you'll use a makeup product and it'll literally make you angry? Story of my life. Anyway, you guys will have to let me know in the comment box below what products you found to be disappointing lately, and if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, don't forget to do so before you go. I will catch you guys in my next video. Bye guys!